Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Bartley, your librarian, and today I want to end your lesson by reading a small section of a new book that we just got in the library that I'm really excited about. I love animals and I love nonfiction, but I like nonfiction that tells a story or narrative nonfiction. And we just got a book called Amazing Animal Stories, Heartwarming True Tales from the Animal Kingdom that is compiled by Jane Yolen and her children. So if you like Owl Moon, it's the same author. These are stories of real animals that have done incredible things. So in here, you're going to find some animals that you might be familiar with, like the sled dog that saved the children of Nome, Alaska from a devastating illness. But there also are some animals that you might never have heard of before. Seabiscuit, the racehorse. Well, he's one of my favorites, so I've heard of him. But if you haven't ever heard of him, then that would be a good one for you to read. Each chapter is a story about a different animal. So it's not a book that you read all the way through, although you can. You can pick and choose the chapters that are interesting to you. I'm going to read to you a book about animal friends because I love it when unlikely animal friends happen, when different species help each other out. And so I'm going to read to you the story of Owen and Maisie, an unlikely pair. And I'm going to turn off my video so I'm not distracted as I read it. That's a better picture. Okay, so here we have Owen and Maisie, an unlikely pair. And I'm reading this out loud to you right now, by the way, by permission or with permission from the publisher, because typically we would not put out a video of a book being read aloud. But in these special times, a lot of publishers have given us permission, and that's what's going on right here. All right. On December 26, 2004, trouble was brewing under the Indian Ocean. First, the plates of the earth slid, one under another. This caused a great shudder. An earthquake set the oceans rolling. A huge wave headed toward land. As it went, it got stronger and higher and gained speed. When it hit the coast from Africa to Thailand, the ocean was so strong it moved boats and cars and bridges and people. It flattened houses and trees and buildings. When the wave finally receded, it swept people and property back out with it, leaving devastation in its wake. So as I was reading, I realized without saying the word, the author is describing what happens when a tsunami hits, one of those giant waves that crash onto the shore and then come back out to sea. Just off the shore of the Kenyan village of Malindi, it left one orphaned hippopotamus all alone on a sandbar. Suffering great losses themselves, the villagers could have ignored the stranded hippo, but they did not. Along with visitors who were on the beach that day, the villagers worked for hours trying to rescue the slippery, frightened animal. They finally restrained him in a net, but he wriggled free from the grips of his rescuers and tried to run away from them. One brave man, Owen Mzee, tackled him to the ground, where the others were able to secure him with ropes and the net. The young hippo was saved. But where would he go, and who would be his family? Dr. Paula Kahambo of Haller Park, an old abandoned limestone quarry in Bamburi, Mombasa, Kenya, that had been made into a wildlife sanctuary, offered to take the baby hippo, now named Owen. Once he was at Haller Park, the staff would have to take care of him since he couldn't be introduced to other hippos who would very likely attack him. Hippos may look friendly, but they can be territorial, fierce, and unfriendly, even to other hippos, even to baby hippos. The long trip south to the sanctuary was not easy. Owen was distrustful of all of the human attention he was getting. Finally, after being swept into the ocean, netted by a beach crowd, wrangled into a truck, and driven 50 miles to Mombasa, Owen arrived at Haller Park. He was exhausted and afraid. When the ropes that bound him came off, Owen was released into the boma, a fenced enclosure that was to be his new home. He did what any scared baby hippo would do. He hid behind his mom. The problem was, the round gray creature he found to hide behind was not his mom. Maisie, which means wise old man in Swahili, was a 130-year-old Aldabra giant tortoise, one of the largest tortoises in the world. He came from the Aldabra Islands in the Indian Ocean and was a cranky, slow-moving fellow with a cracked carapace or shell, an injury he'd sustained when the last hippo he met tried to roll him around like a ball. Tortoises are not cuddly creatures. They are cold-blooded reptiles that don't nurture their young, let alone someone else's. Sometimes they live in herds, but even then they are solitary. So, when the 600-pound baby hippo tried to snuggle with him, Maisie wasn't really amused. In fact, he tried to get away. But where he went, Owen followed. Owen, being bigger and faster, always caught up. This went on all evening. Finally, in the morning, it seemed Maisie had given up trying to escape Owen's attentions, and a friendship began to form. In the months that followed, the Howler Park staff was amazed and amused by the unlikely pair. They seemed to genuinely like each other. They ate their meals together. They swam together. Owen would observe Maisie and copy his behaviors. They even seemed to communicate using grunting sounds, plus tugs, nips, and nuzzles. People came to visit Howler Park. Lots of people. The whole world had fallen in love with Owen and Maisie. Their story was an inspiration. If such a strong friendship could be forged between these two animals that, at least on the surface, had nothing in common, perhaps there was hope for the human race. Of course, Owen and Maisie didn't care about any of that. They were happy in their boma together, and it didn't matter to them at all that Owen was a hippopotamus and Maisie was a tortoise. As far as they were concerned, they were a family. So that's the story of Owen and Maisie, and that is why I love this book so much, because it is a collection of lots of stories like this, true stories of real animals that have done something surprising or extraordinary or even heroic. I hope you'll give this book a chance. It's in our nonfiction section in under science, so it's our 591. It's brand new, and I hope you guys will love it as much as I do. Okay, have a wonderful day.